Thanks for it.
Have a lovely day.
You too. Okay, Mark, please.
Councillors, thank you very much for the opportunity to make this submission. We'd like to extend and would you ask to pass on our gratitude for the work of the Heritage team and our thanks for their professionalism and dedication of the Heritage team. And we ask you, would you pass on our gratitude for their work that they're doing. As regards, I'll pick out the highlights in the long-term plan. As regards, we support putting aside expenditure for what we presume is the restoration of the Canterbury Provincial Chambers. That's unclear as to what's going to happen. However, we find this problematic because we're not sure what exactly we're setting aside money or supporting for. We understand via the press that the council is entering into commercial negotiations with an unknown commercial entity, according to the press. It was done under public excluded. So we're not sure what the money is going to be spent on, who or with, but you're asking us to put aside money and support that. So we're formally requesting a full consultation with public input, along with full disclosure from the council in regards to the future of this important and its internationally significant heritage building. In addition, and it'll be no surprise here, we support that the council should be funding the Arts Centre. For a variety of reasons, you'll have no doubt heard from the residents of Christchurch and groups as to why, but I'll draw your attention to the fact that you have a heritage strategy, Our Heritage, Our Taonga. And in the executive summary, you'll find that recognise that the council has a leadership role in facilitating a collaborative approach. The strategy also states the council has roles in heritage. One of those roles is funder. So you should be following your own strategy. This was fully endorsed by the public, and we consider that you can do so. I'd also make the observation, and I'm not going to get into the pros and cons, that according to the Arts Centre, and I believe that to be this case, it's not been disputed, they're generating $1 million visitors a year. I'm trying to think as a Central City resident, something that's equivalent, I presume, Riverside and the Botanical Gardens. Now, those sort of visitors, by my calculation, you'd have to fill the stadium, the new proposed stadium, 26 times a year. If you got close to that, you would deem that stadium to be an outstanding success. I'm not passing judgment on that. And therefore, the running cost of the Arts Centre, I assume, will be smaller than the stadium. So you don't hold, I'm not sure why you're holding the Arts Centre to a different criteria compared to the council venues. And needless to say, 1 million visitors a year is a big plus for the Central City, for the CBD. We support the targeted rate being absorbed in the general rate. However, whilst we're supportive, we request that a small fraction of the $2 million in savings be set aside for heritage grants instead of 2031, 2032, that they be brought forward to this financial year. It's a little unclear as to what those heritage grants are. You used to have a heritage incentive grants, which was for built heritage and intangible heritage, so I presume they've been lumped together. That amounts to 10%. One of the reasons for doing so is, we'd be pretty well certain in asserting this without contradiction, if you proceed as you propose in this draft, you would be the only metropolitan city not to have heritage grants. I point out there are provincial towns and cities that have heritage grants, and Christchurch won't have any for a while. The other reason is, just on a practical thing, if you're a heritage building owner and you've got a heritage building, if you want to do any work on your house, you require resource consent if it's not a repair. Now, the council expects those building owners to be responsible on their buildings and do so. That costs money for heritage resource consent. At minimum, surely they should be, if the city's expecting an expectation of responsibility, they should also come to the party as well, so the owners may be able to make a grant to cover that resource consent. I don't think that's unreasonable. So that's why we asked for the grants to be started at the beginning of the upcoming financial year, as opposed to what the council is proposing in the draft. Again, it does, under your strategy, one of your roles is funder. The other one is on intangible heritage, request for it to be reinstated as well. As an example, the heritage festival upcoming, they used to have the grant for groups is a paltry $28,500 a year. That's what it was in the past, which is totally insignificant by council expenditure. For those groups that hold public events as part of Heritage Week, there are a number of responsibilities. Some of them may have to pay public liability insurance if they have a public event. They've got to make sure someone's available with medical, health and safety plan. Full events plans have got to be available to do that, to hold those events. Well, without, access to those, what is a paltry amount of money, some groups may not go ahead. It may not be beyond them. And so we think it's important. In addition, the Aldhurst Memorial Hall, we fully support the gifting of the Aldhurst Memorial Hall to the Aldhurst Rural Residents Association. The only proviso on this one, I made a submission to this quite a number of years ago. I'm a little perplexed that it's taken so long for the council to come to this final thing, but you've done it well done. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sam. You done? You all done? Okay, thank you very much. That was good.
Thank you.
And lastly, Nikki and Peter, please.